So obviously, if you can get a guaranteed rate of return at 9.5%, you'd want to
It's
put
not
your whole
bad.
portfolio in it. But here's some of the fine print that normally doesn't make the conversation.
Are you guys hearing anything about I-bonds?
Yeah, I'll touch on that. It's a hot buzzword right now. These type of treasuries are saving bonds rather. These things have been around for a very long time, but they're getting hot again. They're a fun buzzword because of the interest rates that are being advertised. I'll got a slide I'll pop up here that will show some of these facts and figures. The buzz rate, that's catching everybody's ears is the 9. I think the current rate is a little more than 9.5%. And so obviously, if you can get a guaranteed rate of return at 9.5%, you'd want to
It's
put
not
your whole
bad.
portfolio in it. But here's some of the fine print that normally doesn't make the conversation. So if a person did want to own these, they can't open them up in a Schwab account or a Vanguard account or Fidelity account, et cetera. They've actually got to go to the Treasury, Treasury Direct. But some other fine print that I think is noteworthy is the maximum investments usually steer people away. $10,000 typically. If you're just going to do electronic, you can throw in another 5,000 if you want to deal with the United States Postal Service. But a $15,000 maximum investment is all you can do per year. The other thing that is caught up in the fine print, most people think if they buy this bond, they're going to get nearly 10% forever. And that's not the case. These I bonds restructure or the rate changes every 6 months based upon the current inflation rate. And so where I'm discussing this with clients, it's like, okay, think about what's happening right now. We're trying to knock inflation down. The Federal Reserve is raising rates in order to knock inflation down. So the rate that you're getting on these bonds theoretically might be the highest that you're going to see the whole time that you own it. And when this thing recalibrates in 6 months, the rate's going to get knocked down. So you're not getting 9.6% forever. You're getting 9.6% annualized or 4.8 for the next 6 months. Then it will most likely get knocked down, would be my assumption. And it's a 30-year bond. And so you've got this investment now. You can get out of it. But I think if you get out of it within the first 5 years, you're going to lose some interest. I think you're losing about 3 months interest on that. But anyway, it is a hot button. But those are the two keywords that I want people to remember is the amount that you're limited to invest. And then the rate is not set. The rate will adjust.
Jason, when do you think you should be looking at something like this, though? I mean, when is it a good time to be buying something like this? Like, let's say you got a 13-year-old. You think you're going to fund college, right? You need to put a little bit of extra money away. You know, you're going to have it for, let's say, 5 or 6 years. It's not I mean, I would encourage this more than going down to the bank and buying a CD with your $7,000 that you're going to put away for the kid's education for the year.
Agreed.
So,
as of right now, still better than CDs, better than cash.
Yep.
But beyond that, I mean, it kind of depends on the situation, depends on the amount of money, depends on the child, depends on a lot of things. But I agree with you. It still beats cash.
Yeah.
Beats CDs.
Well, but the flip side of that too, though, is also when you're looking at
investment.
the longer period of time, like you said, you can get out after a year, 5 years without penalty. But again, you know, if you're looking at say 6 month CDs right now, you're pushing over 2.5 to 3%. So you're not giving up that much interest for the annualized rate. And, you know, it's one of those things that you can, you know, matures and you can turn around and look and see what makes sense again versus being kind of tied up into something a little longer.
Well, and we just to be clear, we don't use these in our investment portfolios because we can't, but also because they're in such small increments that it's hard to move the needle on our typical client. For us to put $10,000 into an account of something isn't enough to really get it done. But again, for folks that have a lot of cash sitting on the sidelines and you got to fund something that's, you know, let's say 5 years out, I think they can be perfect again for smaller dollar amounts.
Right.
So like anything, it's a tool. It's trade-offs. No investment's perfect. Once you know all the fine print, then you can figure out what situation it makes sense. And Chris gave a great example of where it might make sense. But like you said, for most of our clients, adding $10,000 of these, and remember, you got to go direct to the government to do this, which our clients are not really fans of.
Yeah, we've helped a couple people do it, and it's a bit of a hassle. I mean, you spend a lot of time in front of a computer, you know, putting all your information into a website, and that's just a little clunky, but yeah, it can be certainly useful in some spots.